Hi guys, in this video I catch up with semi-professional footballer Craig Rennie. He talks to us about what it's like to join a professional academy at such a young age, what happens when you suffer a serious injury, and then he talks us through his journey, which include opportunities he's had to play at a professional and semi-professional level in Spain, Portugal and in Australia. Hope you enjoyed the video. Coming up. We are here today with Craig Rennie. So thank you very much, Craig, for taking your time out to come and join us.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Thank you.
Well, let's throw it over to you first of all. If you want to introduce yourself, let us know who you are, how old you are, where you're from, what position you play.
My name's Craig Rennie. I'm from Inverness in Scotland, but I'm currently based down in the south of England. I'm 24 years old and I play on the left wing.
So you're currently playing, you're down in Littlehampton. Is that for footballing reasons or?
I moved down here about 8 years ago when I was 15. So it was just after I'd left the academy set up at Inverness up there because I broke my leg. So I lost my contract. So I wanted to start fresh. So I come down to the south of England. So effectively I've been down here for around 8 years, but I've played all my senior football down in the south coast of England, basically.
Right. Okay. So I guess let's take it all the way back, really. And we like to kind of dig deep where we can. So where did football start for you? Where did your journey in football start?
So I never really played competitive football until I was around 10 years old. So I used to kick a ball around at the park with my granddad, and I played for my primary school team. So I played my first competitive game when I was around 8, and we played a primary school tournament, and I ended up scoring something like 30 goals in the space of 5 tournament games throughout the whole day. So attention from the local professional team that I played, well, that was in the area, which was Inverness.
Yep.
So Inverness Caledonian Thistle, I don't know if people would know who they are, but
I'm sure people around football would know. Yeah. Sure, yeah.
They played Scottish Premier League at the time, and also Ross County, which was their rivals. So originally, my brother was playing for Ross County, so I signed for Ross County, but I was only there for a year, and they weren't really willing to play me in youth games.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted me on like a development contract, so I would purely just train. But
right.
For me, it's the first football team I'd ever played for, so I took it. But after a year, I then signed for Inverness Caledonian Thistle on a proper contract.
Yeah.
So I supposed to do a 6-week trial, but I did 3 weeks, and after 3 weeks, they offered me a contract, which was actually Duncan Shearer. I don't know if you've heard of Duncan Shearer. He played for like Chelsea, Scotland back in the day. Is the guy that was coaching the youth group at the time, and he offered me my first contract.
How old were you then?
10, I think.
10. Yeah. And what's that feeling like when you're 10 years old? And how aware are you that you're at a professional club? And is it a big moment for you? How did you feel?
It was at 10 years old. It's hard because as far as I was aware, I was just playing for a football team. For me, it was just, I'm playing for a football team. This is great. But I also had a season ticket in Inverness from the age of 6 with my granddad anyway. So I knew of the team. I supported Inverness, which was a great feeling for me to play for the team that I support.
Yeah.
But it never really hit me until I was around 12, 13 that I was playing academy football, and it was proper professional. I was training 3 days a week, playing on a Sunday, but we were traveling down to Glasgow and Dundee and places like that every second week to play teams like Celtic and Rangers, Motherwell, Hearts. Mm-hmm. So that's when it properly hit and never really sunk in for a couple of years.
Yeah, and how far is that, the journeys that you're making for those games?
So I think the longest journey we made was probably Celtic or Rangers, because we played at their training grounds, which was a great experience. And that was usually around 3.5 hours to 4 hours drive on a coach. We'd be leaving the stadium around 7 o'clock in the morning, and then we'd be heading down to these areas to play, it was good, but it was very tiring. So by the time that you got there, you were really tired. I can't say the same for everyone else, but I was really tired by the time I got there. But it was a good experience.
At that age, is it just the team that are traveling on the bus, or are they taking, like, you got family members going along with you on the coach as well, or is it just the team only?
It was just the team only. So family members would drive if they were willing to drive down. Yeah. They would drive behind the coach. my parents wouldn't drive down. It was a bit too far for them, but
Yeah.
other parents would come down. So we'd have a bit of a crowd, but it was mainly the home team's parents that would turn up. A lot of the parents at academy level anyway, it was a bit different because they had slightly more money than what my parents did, so they couldn't afford to get the petrol and pay to drive 4 hours there and 4 hours back. So but it never really bothered me that my parents weren't there. It was just I was there to play football. That was what I was there to do. I wasn't really too fussed if people were watching or not. I just wanted to play football. So.
And so that was your 15 years old at that point, is that right?
So I was playing from the age of 10 to the age of 15. But yeah, so that was about 5 years. But the seasons were quite short, so I think it was around 6 seasons that I was actually with Inverness. But I was playing in the same age group as Ryan Christie, who plays for Celtic at the moment.
Right.
He's a regular first team player at Celtic. So I was in the same age group as him, and there's a couple of players that have gone on to be professional. But a lot of what I played with are just ordinary blokes now playing amateur football, semi-professional football. So.
And those guys that who have gone on to make it at the time when you were playing against them at that age, were they ones that stood out from the crowd, or did they have a different work ethic to others? Is there anything that stood out from them that you thought, yeah, these guys are going to be the ones that go on?
Yeah, the two that have gone professional, Callum Ferguson and Ryan Christie. Ryan's dad is a Celtic and Inverness legend. His name's Charlie Christie.
Right.
So he obviously worked his son and like pretty much into the ground, make sure that he was a good player, and he was a great player. Callum was the same, but he did his own individual workouts anyway. Even at that age. So they're always standout players. But there was a couple of players in that team that were, for me, the best players in the team that have gone on and done, I wouldn't say nothing, but they haven't gone on and hit the peaks that they could have hit. They may have got released or they quit and they've gone and just played amateur football because that's what they wanted to do. Because at that age, it was very easy to burn out.
Yeah, what was the pressure like at that for you during that age? Is there pressure being put on you by the club about, you've got to perform or else you're going to be out the door at the end of the season, or how does it work for you?
The squad that I played for, we didn't win a lot of games. So there was a lot more pressure on you to perform well so that you would get kept for the following season. And that took its toll on a lot of players. And I think I made it, but by the skin of my teeth. There was one season that I didn't score a lot of goals I was playing up top at this point. I didn't score a lot of goals that season. I was having a really tough season. And at the last couple of games of the season, they said, we need you to score at least 3 goals. Otherwise, we're going to have to release you. I managed to score 3 goals. And I think that scared me enough to think, I don't want to lose this. I want to be a professional footballer. I want to go up through the ranks. And I scored 3 goals and they kept me on. And then the other striker got released.
Right, so it wasn't just a tactic to try and motivate you and psychological time. They were being serious, were they?
Yeah, they released. If you weren't performing, they'd release you. Basically, we were the next generation of players that would be coming up and hopefully breaking through into the first team.
Yeah.
So if you weren't playing well, they weren't going to just carry dead weight. They want to get better players in, which they did. And eventually, the age groups got better as it went on. I broke my leg, so I lost my contract. But the following 2 years, the age group that I was in became the best age group at that level. So they were winning the development leagues and everything else. So I missed out on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of pressure at that age because you're playing teams like Celtic and Rangers, obviously 2 of the biggest clubs in Scotland, and they're coming up with these great youth development programs with great players. Like you're looking at players like Kieran Tierney, who plays for Arsenal at the moment, who've come up through those youth programs. So you're playing class players. So there's a lot of pressure to perform, especially when you're a smaller club as well.
And I imagine the budgets are slightly different, right? They can probably their reach for scouting players and recruiting players is probably a bit deeper than what maybe Inverness was, right?
Yeah, so Celtic, Rangers, Motherwell, Hearts, all those bigger teams, they could recruit players from down south in England or from across Europe and players like that. But Inverness really sourced local players. So they would look at these primary school tournaments or high school tournaments, amateur league. They would look at these leagues and look at these players and go, well, I think they're good enough. So they would bring them in for trials. And if they performed, they would get contracts. But we never really pulled anyone from far. We just stayed local. A couple of players would travel down from Orkney, which means they would need to get a ferry to the mainland and then another 3 hours on the bus down to Inverness. But they wouldn't train. They would just play on the Sundays.
Right. And how many nights were you training as a squad?
It was, as a squad, we were training 3 nights. So I think it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we would play on a Sunday. So it'd be 4 days a week of football, and then the other 3 days we had off. But a lot of us obviously were in school at the time as well. So I was going to school, and then I would get home from school, and I would be going straight out the door again to training. Yeah. And then the next day I'd have a rest, and then it would just be repeat every week.
And what's the schedule like for someone that age in that kind of environment, that club? During the week, is it like one day is going to be recovery, and then the middle of the week you're doing more high intensity stuff, gym work? Is there anything like that? How do they structure it?
Yeah, so Mondays we did a lot of strength and conditioning. So they would hire out a local high school, and we'd use the gym hall that they have in the high school. So they'd bring in like your weights, and we'd be doing things like we'd holding weights, doing the wall sit. So like the 90-degree wall sit. Yeah. So we'd have to hold weights on our thighs for as long as possible. And we're doing this at 12 years old, 12, 13 years old. So they're like really pushing you through your paces. And then Wednesday would be like high intensity sort of ball work and cardio. And then Friday would just be like, it might just be like small-sided matches, a bounce match between two squads, so they can see what they want to play for the game on the Sunday. Yeah. So they can see which players are sharp and what they're going to go with for the starting lineup. So I think 3 days a week was ideal, to be honest, because they got enough out of us and they could see what you were like during the week. Yeah. And the lineups changed from week to week because as the week's gone on, the weaker players got fitter and a lot stronger, and those that weren't willing to put in the work, that were taking the regular starting spots for granted, would then start to fade off and become one of the weaker players. So the starting lineups were changing every week.
And how did you feel as a player at that point? Do you remember feeling, were you proud, like, yeah, I'm excited because I feel like I'm on my journey to become a professional footballer? Did you feel like, God, I'm literally getting out of school, walking in the door and I'm out again? This is so much. How did you feel?
It was hard because my friends, a lot they used to hang. I had quite a tight friendship group. They used to hang out outside, and they'd be like, "You coming out?" I'd be like, "I can't. I've got training." And eventually, my friends started to stop talking to me. So that was very hard for me. But on another aspect, it was quite easy to get caught away in your ego. So you go into school and you're like, "Oh, I play for Inverness Caledonia Thistle. Like, look at me, I'm a great footballer." Like two massive sort of contrasts to it, but generally, I didn't really care. I think it was just because I was playing for the team I supported, and my main goal in life is to be a professional footballer. So, if I have to lose people on the way to doing that, then I was more than happy to take sacrifices. Yeah. That's what I wanted to do. So, but that didn't work out for me in the end. But generally, I don't regret that so much because that's what I wanted to do. So
sounds like you were focused. Well, how old were you when you thought, it clicked in your head that, no, this is what I want to do. I want to be a professional?
I think from a young age, I think around maybe 10 or 11, I was playing academy. I was turning up on actual match days, first team match days, and we used to collect money because we couldn't fund the youth program too much. The club couldn't fund it that well. So we had to collect money off fans. So we'd stand there with buckets and be shaking these buckets and they put money in. But used to watch the professional footballers come in and they'd be getting people signing autographs and clapping them in, and everyone was so happy to see them. And I thought to myself, like, I want to do that. Like, I want to be able to be a role model and be recognized and sort of go out and people would be like, "You're Craig Rennie, like, can I have a photo or can I have an autograph?" And I think that sort of clicked with me quite young, because even when I used to play, so when I was like 14 as well, when I used to play in the village, I used to train 3 days a week, but I would also go out on my spare days and play football with the rest of the young kids and like all the other boys that used to play football in the village. And they used to like love the fact that I'd come out, my brother would come out, because we both played for Inverness. So it was like a small I don't know how to put it. It was like we were sort of like infamous
Yeah.
in our village
Yeah.
for the status that we had playing football. So I thought I've always wanted to maintain that, have that. But just because I enjoy football as well, I was never really one of those players, because a lot of people at my age were like, oh, I want to make millions. I want to make thousands and thousands of pounds a week. And I was thinking to myself, I'd be happy with a £500 a week contract playing for a team that I support or a team that I love. I just want to play football. I don't care about the money so much.
You had the proper motivation, right? Rather than all the glory and the flashing lights and all the rest of it. The real motivation. I think that's the difference, right? I think that allows you to go in and put the extra hard work in when you've got the real motivation. And
I think, obviously, like I said, I did want that sort of recognition, but I just wanted to play. And if I could play professional footballer, I'd be a professional footballer. That'd be everything for me. But obviously, it didn't work out for me in the end.
Yeah. So take us down that journey, right? So we're about 15 years old now. You're playing there. You said you broke your leg. Is that when you broke your leg at 15?
Yeah, just before I was 15. But I lost my contract when I was 15.
Right. And how did you break your leg? Was that playing?
Yeah, so the keeper, I took it round the keeper, but he misjudged the challenge and he come in 2-footed and he snapped my tibia and fibula clean through. So I was out for just short of 12 months. Clean break. It took ages to sort of fix it. I had to get a plate into my leg, 10 pins screwed into my leg to make sure it stays in place. And, that was hard for me. And I found it very hard to get back into the swing of things because I knew I wasn't going to be an academy player.
Yeah.
And just come back from a 12-month injury. There's not going to be academies knocking on my door wanting to sign me.
How was the club with your injury? Did they support you through the rehab or anything? Or was it broken leg, right, see you later?
Yeah, I mean, they offered me rehab and the physio helped me for a few weeks, but generally it was just through the NHS. So it was very much just checkups at the hospital. And then once that was fine, I was going to like a rehab physio center to sort of strengthen my leg up again. But then after that, at that point, I left Scotland. Oh no, sorry, I come back from injury. I played 3 months amateur and then left to go down to England.
So what happens next then? So you leave to go down to England. What's the next step in the journey for you?
So I signed for just a small amateur team under 16s. First season back, I joined halfway through their season, so they had about 16 games left of their season. And we finished the season in second. Scored 25 in 16 games. And
you're playing up top now, left wing?
Playing up top at this point. I only started falling back the positions when I got older.
Yeah. I know that feeling, mate.
Yeah,
I can't go any further back.
And it was, I was playing striker at this point, and then the next season, the team who won the league that season, they were then going up into like semi-professional youth setup, because their first team was always up there, but the youth setup were always playing sort of amateur from under 16s, and then when you reach under 18s, that's when you're playing the other like semi-pro teams in the area, but they're youth teams. So they wanted to sign me, and I did sign them, but I was surprised they did because we played them the last game of the season and it was 5-5. They won the league on the final game, but I was through on goal to make it 6-5, and their centre half chopped me out, and it should have been a red card, but the linesman didn't flag for it. But the linesman was their manager, and I got up and I was swearing at him. I was calling him everything under the sun. And then after the game, he went up to my dad and went, "Is that your boy?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I want to sign him. I want my team." And I was surprised because I was just calling him all sorts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ended up signing for them. So I played for them, and I was going to be doing some showcase trials as well. So I wanted to get back into it, and I was willing to pay for it. So I paid for a couple of showcase trials down in London.
And you're how old at this point?
I would have been, after my first season with the new team, I would have been around 17. So, So I was 16, signed for this new team when I was 16, played about half a season. Just before I turned 17, I was playing for their first team reserves as well on a Saturday, and then playing for my youth team on a Saturday.
What league or what step was that team in?
Step 8, so it was like county premiers.
Gotcha.
So you've got your counties and stuff, county premier leagues.
Yeah.
Which is still paid football, is still semi-professional, even though it's quite lower down on the spectrum.
Yeah.
But at 16, 17 years old, I was playing reserves and first team football, as well as playing football on a Sunday. So that was that was good. But then I broke my leg again when I was 17, same leg. So that was a massive step back.
Playing football again?
No, actually at college. It was just a freak accident at college. We're doing this endurance exercise, and we're pulling this carriage. Usually you pull it along grass, but it had wheels on it because we were on AstroTurf. It ran over my leg basically and snapped it again. But that recovery wasn't as long. It was about 6 months. Back a lot quicker. Come back to youth football again and did really well. That's when I started doing my trials again. So I did the showcase trials and went down to London. And they went really well. And I went on trial with Barnet. And I had a trial with Brentford as well, but I just wasn't fit enough.
Right.
So I had enough time to get match fitness and train hard to get that cardio back up and get my ball work sharp again. Like I had the qualities, but I couldn't reach the levels that the other academy players were at. It was really hard to take.
So these open trials, maybe talk to us a little bit about that. Is it just a company was putting on, you sign up with this company, pay X amount, and they hold this big trial day where scouts come and attend? Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. So it's like back then it was called Soccer Showcase, and it was on Sky Sports News. Sky Sports News were like advertising it, so it was a legit company. And you pay about £400, and that pays for your week's accommodation basically. But everything else is free. So they would provide us with kits, and they provide us with lunches because we train twice a day. Train in the morning, then train in the afternoon. So they provided all that. We just provided our accommodation basically. But everyone was in the same hotel. So they had booked rooms in the hotel for the players. We basically just paid them back for the rooms.
Yeah.
So we went down as a week, and they would come with a minibus, take you to and from training grounds. So we trained at QPR's training ground. That was where the trials were held. How
many other players were involved in those?
Not sure. They managed to make 4 teams of 15, so I'd say around mass and strong, like about 100 players.
600, yeah, cool.
100. So we'd be training on different fields and stuff, and you're split into different teams. So it's the black team, red team, yellow team, and a blue team. So we're split into all these different teams, and then we would train in our squads for the week, and then you would be building up to a massive sort of trial game at the end of the week. But the trial, like the scouts did come watch the training session because also they want to see how you train as well. But nothing came of that for me. I was one of the standout performers that week, but nothing got offered to me. Like another setback for me, so it was just hard. Because I trained hard, I did well. I played the trial game, scored twice in a 3-2 win. And again, I'm not sure what it was. I never really got told what it was for me that I needed to really improve on. They gave you a spreadsheet, and they graded you what they thought you were strong at and what you were weak at. I never really got any sort of advice on why I wasn't getting selected by these scouts despite performing well. So I never really had an idea what I needed to improve. For me at that point, I started to just sort of give up on being a professional footballer. I just thought it's not working out for me. I'm 18 now. I'm not getting anything.
Yeah.
So I just where I was. I started playing senior first team football as well as playing under 18s at the club I was still at.
Yeah.
So I was playing semi-professionally first team and playing youth football. And I stuck at that for about a year and a half. And then I signed for the division above, which is a team called East Preston. And they had just won the league to get promoted, but their ground regulations were poor, so couldn't sign for them. No, I couldn't. They couldn't go up, so I did sign for them. They stayed in the same division. And then I decided to do one more showcase trial, which was out in Portugal. So I went out there, and that was really hard because it was about 35 degrees the whole week. So we did a bit. It was like professional. So we had you'd have your training on 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, you'd have breakfast at 8, training at 9. You'd train for 2 hours, and then you'd have your break. So you go in, do what you need to do, relax, nap. So they really emphasized on sleeping. So they said that napping actually refreshes your body, and you'll feel more fit and more refreshed when it comes to your second training
session. Old siestas, that sounds like the Portuguese and Spanish.
Yeah. But they said, make sure you get your sleep therapy in and make sure everything's sort of refreshed. So that's what we used to do. And then we'd have lunch at 12, train again at 1 until 3. And then the rest of the day we'd have to just sort of chill out.
And whereabouts in Portugal was that?
I think it was a training ground that France and Greece used during Euro 2004.
Right.
But it's near Lisbon. It's not far outside Lisbon. It was a good experience because after training sessions, they'd make you jump in the ice baths, and then you jump out of the ice bath straight into the jacuzzi, which would then just flush all the toxins out of your body, which was good. But I struggled with that because I had a metal plate in my leg, so my leg just froze up completely. So in the ice bath, I couldn't move my leg for about 5 minutes after. I have to basically thaw my leg out in the jacuzzi to make sure that it was not frozen. But no, it was a good experience. And then I got offered a contract by a team in the 3rd division. There's Villa Ave or something like that. Which I was like, yeah, definitely, I want to take that. That was my first professional break.
Yeah.
I thought that sounded great. Okay, I'm 18 years old. I'm willing to move abroad. But then I saw where I was going to be living, and it was a room that was no bigger than maybe 4 meters by 5 meters. It was tiny.
And this is the club supplying that to you, right?
Yeah. The club out there was supplying this. I'd be training 5 days a week. It was professional. But they were offering €100 a week. And for me at that point, I was making just as much, pretty much, playing semi-professional in England.
Yeah.
And I lived with my parents at the time, so I had a better living then. But I think what put me off was I wasn't making a lot of money, and the room that I was going to be living in was basically just a box.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was going to be very isolated, and it'd be very hard to live in a different country on my own, learning a new language with just no resources.
Yeah.
And like I said, money for me wasn't everything. It was just that at that point I had to think about sort of supporting myself as well.
Yeah, the wages. I lived in Portugal for a period of time for 4 years, on and off. Like the wages. I mean, I was based down in the Algarve, so I guess a little bit different to up in Lisbon. But it's for any jobs they do are not very well paid compared to other places around the world, right? So it's.
Yeah. So again, it was just like, well, am I going to be able to support myself? Probably not. I got to train 5 days a week. I have to get groceries and things like that, which probably would have been fine. But then I had no furniture in my room, so I'd have to buy furniture for this small box room. And I just started getting anxious about it, and I started having panic attacks, and I was thinking, no, I can't do this. So I just turned it down in the end and came back to England.
So does that happen during that week or that trial, the period that you were there for? Yeah. They offered you that contract whilst you were doing the trial. So at the end of the trial, they said, hey, yeah, we like you. Let's sign you straight away. Is that kind of how it worked? Or did you finish? Did you come home and then you got talking and negotiating?
I was over there. So I did my trials. We played 2 games. And we didn't win the games, but I was the only player in those games to score for the trial team.
Yeah.
So I was playing up top at that point again. And yeah, they offered me the trial then. So the contract then. So they said, we want to sign you. But it was before my flight back was due to go back. So I had that time to look at it and decide whether I wanted to do it or not.
Yeah.
And I just didn't.
I saw
it all and it's just.
Did you lean on your family? Was that like a phone call home saying, look, this is the situation, what I've been offered, but this is where I'm going to be living? Or was it just something you on your own, just like, look, it doesn't feel right?
It was me on my own. I knew that if I spoke to someone, they would be saying, yeah, do it. But for me, I had to make a sort of more mature decision rather than following something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yes, it was something that I wanted to do, but it just wasn't right for me at that moment in time.
Yeah.
And again, that takes me back to sort of one of the most regretful moments in my football career was rejecting that. So thinking about it more at the time now, I did regret it. I wish I took it, but at that moment in time for me, I just didn't feel like it was right.
Yeah, and that's all you can act on, right? Is there that moment in time?
And then again, basically from there, I just played semi-professionally during my senior career the whole time. So I just played. I played for a number of teams in the local area that were in that sort of higher level.
Yeah.
And played at that level. I got paid to play. Couldn't ask for anything more really. To be professional, but it's just what it is.
Yeah, and that's training 2 nights a week and a game on a weekend, or maybe 2 games a week, Tuesday night.
So at the start of the season, it was Saturdays and Tuesday matches because they have like a build up of games. Because they over here, you know yourself how bad the weather can get.
Yeah.
So there'll be cancelled fixtures, and so they get a lot of the games out at the start of the season because they know that it's going to be a massive build up.
Yeah.
Of fixtures over the winter when it starts to get quite soggy and wet. So it'd be like Saturday and Tuesday games for the first 2 months of the season. Then it starts to go 2 training days and then a game on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But I'd be working my 9 to 5 as well as playing. So
how do you find that, having a job and then having to go and train in the evening after that? How are you finding that? Do you find that you're tired after work and you're like, fuck, I cannot be bothered to go out and train now, like pissing down with rain?
Yeah, it gets like that. I used to just work retail, so easy enough.
Yeah.
Like that's an easy enough. Like it's easy work. You're just stacking shelves, but at the end of the day, you do sort of just go, oh well, I cannot be bothered now. I've had a 9-hour shift. I just want to go home and chill out. But you're getting home and then you've got to drive to training. Do an hour and a half, 2 hours of training, then come home, and then you've got work in the morning again.
Yeah, that is the battle of a semi-pro footballer, right? It's a massive commitment because you're trying to juggle a full-time job on top of that training session as well. So at this point, right now you're still playing semi-pro in England. This season just finished. Yeah. What happened to your season just now? So,
sorry, the season just finished.
Yeah, the one that.
In Australia for that.
All right. Okay. Cool. So, all right. My bad. Let's carry on then. So, take me through that journey. Right. So, playing semi-pro in England.
I was playing semi-pro in England, and then I decided to move back to Scotland I was going to move back to Scotland basically. I didn't expect the offer from Australia to come, but I played half a season in the Highland League in Scotland, which is the highest semi-professional level in Scotland.
Yeah.
It's basically Scotland's conference league.
Yeah.
So the next step up is playing Scottish Professional League 2. So I played half a season there, played really well, met a boy there who did play out in Australia before. And he said, I know a couple of teams out there that are looking for players if you're interested. And I was like, yeah, definitely. Like at the time I was thinking, great.
Who was that player?
His name's Shaun. He was quite well known in Fort William where we were playing. And he played out in Australia, but he played sort of like amateur. It was like Bendigo Amateur League in Victoria. So he said, I know a few teams out there. And I thought to myself, like, yeah, sure. He said the level was similar to what we were playing. It wasn't. That was a straight up lie. But, the experience itself was okay. I moved out there.
Hey, so when you came out to Australia, what level were you playing with? Who did you go and sign for?
It was just an amateur level. To be honest with you, and I thought it was going to be like a semi-professional level, but it was an amateur level for a team called Eagle Hawk, down in Bendigo, and had a really good season. We won silverware. We won our grand final. We lost the league controversially. Don't want to say too much. Don't want to get in trouble. But was probably the worst referee I've ever played with. He was terrible. We had a penalty to win, so we had to win the game. The team we were playing was our biggest rivals. They had to draw the game. 85th minute, we win a penalty. We score it, go 1-0 up. Everyone's going mental. We think we won the league. It was brilliant. But I stepped in the box before the ball was kicked, and the referee blew it back. And I thought it was going to be a retake. I thought it's fine. It's just a retake. He blew an indirect free kick the other way.
Is that right?
It's not.
I'm not a referee, so I won't claim to know. But I thought you could retake them if that happens. But
that's what I thought. Everyone was going crazy. But he said it's a rule effectively of next season. I went, well, it's not next season yet. What are you doing? And he's like, well, it's my decision. It's been made. And I was like, this is ridiculous. But the fact that he used to be a player of the team that we were playing against as well, which seemed a bit dodgy to me. But there it is. It's amateur league. What can you do? But finished the season with a pretty good goal tally. Went over there first first 5 games I'd scored 2 hat-tricks and probably averaged a goal a game after that as well. So I think I finished the season with something like 17 or between 17 and 20 goals. I didn't really count too much, but
You were flying.
yeah, that was great. It was a good experience, and especially because Australia was always a country that I always wanted to visit. To live there was brilliant. But again, going back to it's that life of working and playing. I was doing floor sanding whilst I was living there, and working 13-hour shifts every day, and then training twice a week, playing on a Sunday. You know, it was really tiring.
Yeah.
And I think that's what players that are trying to hit those heights playing semi-professionally, or even trying to play professional. With professional it's slightly different, but playing semi-pro or high-level semi-pro, you're still having to work. And I think people don't realize, especially youngsters, they don't realize they're going to have to train hard, but also they have to work during the week as well. They can't just play football. You're not going to make enough money to live off just playing football, playing at that semi-professional level.
You got to have a good work ethic.
Exactly, you got to put in the work. And I know a lot of players that had the potential to be great players and just didn't put the work in, and either not playing or playing amateur football. So, but I had a few offers down in Melbourne. So playing State League One, Brisbane Stallions, Mill Park, Knox City. Teams down there said, come and play for us. And I played in a Nations tournament for Knox City. Host, which was fun. So all the teams were like international teams, but all made up of players of that nation. Bar the team that we played for, Knox City just represented Wales. So I was playing for Wales basically. Yeah. But there was no Scottish team. But all the players in that league were all NPL and state league players, like high state league players. So it was a good standard of tournament.
Yeah, I played in that tournament. I actually represented Scotland in that tournament.
Yeah.
A couple of times. Now, a couple of years we've done that.
At Knox City?
At Knox City, yeah.
City. Cool. Yeah. It was a good experience. And I was going to sign for Knox, but they couldn't find me a job or a place to live. They could offer me money. Yeah. So we can offer you money. So they give you $400 or $500 a week. I said, great, that's amazing, thank you. But they couldn't. I said to them, I need somewhere to live, and they went, well, you're going to have a look online and see if there's anywhere that you can live. Right. And at that point, I'm thinking this is going to be too expensive for me. So because they couldn't find me accommodation, it was a deal breaker for me, which was gutting. But
so is that the year just gone? You've just returned, have you?
Yeah, I had to come back for the coronavirus because of the whole virus thing. I might look at going back out eventually, but I've had an offer from a team in Spain as well. So
that's good. And how did that come about with Spain?
I put my highlights reel on Twitter. So I've got a highlights reel that I've only just really. It was an older one that I put together at the end of the season just gone, which was around October. Put it up. They were a scouting agency, but they then took over a team in Spain, and then they saw my highlights reel and they messaged me and
Alicante FC, something like that. Is that? Yeah.
So they said, you can come out and trial with us in August if you want. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. So I might be doing that, but I've also got a very good career at the moment, working as a detainee custody officer at London Gatwick. So so I got to weigh that up. Whether it's more important to just work and then play part-time football on the side, or try and go back out and start again in a different country. I feel quite blessed because a lot of players don't get the opportunity to go play abroad. But now it's just making the decision. I always seem to get the wrong timing.
It was your friend or your teammate that told you about Australia originally, right? Had you ever considered playing overseas like that, in somewhere that far away, or think that there was opportunities out there? Like you say, when Knox offered you $400 or $500 or whatever it was, right? Is that something you ever thought that, because that's not bad money for playing semi-professional football, right?
Yeah, it's good money, yeah. Just that Melbourne is a very expensive place to live, so.
Yeah, it can be. Did you think about, coming from England, how I found it anyway myself, was that you just didn't realise the opportunities that are outside the borders of England, right? If you don't make it in England at a pro club, or you get released from an academy, a lot of players kind of fall by the wayside and just think that's it. It's over. Football's over.
Yeah.
So to be able to, like you say, kind of blessed to be given these opportunities that are overseas. I think there's a lot of players that don't realise they're there for them.
Yeah, so I think it's more a case of sort of breaking your comfort zone for players that want to make it in the semi-professional game, or even if you're young enough to go back and play like academy or professional. It's about breaking that comfort zone, and that's what I never did before. And then I took the opportunity. I was 22 at the time when it came up, and then I was 23 when I moved out to Australia. So I just thought, well, I want to just get away from the UK, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'll come back. I've always got that fallback barrier with my parents and stuff, so I can come back here. But I really enjoyed it. Being out there is a different way of living. Like, living in Australia was amazing. I think everyone, for me, was easy to get on with, friendly. Australians are friendly. I think this is me thinking about food, but the best thing was chicken parmas. Going out there. I love them. But put on a lot of weight whilst I was out there.
Yeah, well, between that and the drinking, it's it gets to you, right?
No, yeah, it was good. No, it was a good experience, and I think any players that are looking to sort of progress their career, there's a lot of scope for like progression in Australia. Whether you start down at an amateur league, it's so easy to get scouted or even get spotted by a team that are playing state league or NPL. And I would urge anyone to go out and take that opportunity, because it's a different way of living, and it's a good chance to progress in your football. So
you're saying there, right? So it's life experience that you're going to have forever, right? So if it doesn't work out or whatever, you can always go home, no problem. But you're always going to have that experience of living away from home in a country where it's a great lifestyle. I definitely agree with what you're saying. There's a lot of positives about taking that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, again, urge anyone to do out there. And plus, teams in Australia are always looking for imported players. That's what I find, that every team you come across will look for an import player that have played at like a pretty high level. They want players from abroad, mainly the UK.
Yeah,
they want players from the UK, and I think it's about, especially for young players, it's about making sure you've got. I think a highlights reel is very important to have. Not everyone's blessed enough to have games filmed.
Yeah.
If you do have your games filmed, then try and put together a highlights reel, because I think that helps you a lot when approaching clubs. Because clubs aren't always going to approach you. I always think you have to approach clubs. I don't think it's too cheeky. I think a lot of players think it would damage their ego if they have to approach a club to go and sign for them. But if you approach them, the worst they can say is no.
Yeah.
Say, we don't know much about you. Or you can approach them with a CV saying, this is what I've done, this is my achievements, which is what I've done. I had a football resume and I approached a load of teams and I got a load of trials out of it. And I had a highlights reel. People saw my highlights reel. So
yeah, I think you're spot on with what you're saying there. And in this day and age, right, not everybody gets their games filmed. You're correct with that, but everybody's got a camera in their pocket nowadays. The quality on that camera is incredible on your phone. You've just got to sweet talk your mate to come down and film one of your games for you. Or maybe invest in a tripod yourself and set it up, right? So it's not out of anybody's reach to actually get any footage nowadays. So I'm shocked that we still have players that, aren't putting that together, and they're just, and not even reaching out to people, right? It's so you can really connect with anybody anywhere in the world right now with all the tools we now have at our fingertips. And people are sitting on their ass waiting for things to fall on their lap, which is just never going to happen.
I think that was a problem with people with, like, that's again comes down to players with potential. Players that know they have great talent but aren't willing to put in the work to go and make something of it. Things aren't going to come to you just because you've got good talent. Doesn't mean teams are going to come knocking on your door, and you've got to put yourself out there. And I think personally for me as well, you have to, if you want to progress. Again, I took a back step in terms of level of football that I was playing to then progress in a different country. So I took it back. I went from playing high level semi-professional football in Scotland. I went down to amateur level in Australia and had the opportunity to go shooting at least it was probably like 6 divisions higher than what I was playing in Australia, to go play semi-professionally again. Sometimes you've got to take a step back to go several steps forward. And I think you can't let your your ego in terms of football get in the way of that. You can't say to yourself, well, I'm at this level, I should be playing at this level, because you'll just go nowhere.
You got to get your foot in the door, right? And you'll very quickly find your level, because exactly what you're saying, the football community is a very small community. So if you're at a gun and you're tearing it up, you're going to very quickly be heard about, and the teams are going to come knocking on your door, which puts you in even a better position because they're knocking on your door now. So it's definitely worth taking that step backwards, like you say, but knowing that the bigger picture is that actually this is going to set me up for next season where I'm going to be above where I was last year.
Yeah. It's not the big. To be honest, it's not going to stump any progression taking a small step back for a season. Because, like I said, especially in place, it's a little bit harder in England because England's first choice sport is football. Yeah. So there's hundreds of divisions in England. There's loads of leagues. There's thousands of teams. It's a lot harder, but especially in Australia, where you've got a very good level of football, and you've also got, it's quite, like I said, in Australia the football community is really small, so it's very easy to progress and get spotted, I think. And that, so another player that come over to Australia is Shaun Ellis, plays for Heidelberg. In the NPL. I'm not sure if you know much about the Victorian NPL. Do you?
Yeah. I'm based in Melbourne, so I know.
Melbourne, right. Yeah. So he got Player of the Year twice for Heidelberg. He's had offers from A-League teams, and he played Highland League like 10 years ago. So like I said, he's come out to Australia. He played amateur football for the first year that he was in Australia, and then all of a sudden he shot up into the limelight in NPL football. So that's a perfect example of progressing through the ranks in a different country. So
exactly, it's a great story. It's so true. So true. Cool. So look, we've been on an hour. I don't want to keep you for too much longer. I think it's been great hearing your journey of what you've done so far. I know it's a tough decision for you to make. You've obviously got an opportunity for yourself to go out into Spain or follow your career. I'm not going to sway your decision there, mate, but the career is always there for you, no matter how old you are. Football you can only play for a certain age, right? So you never know what comes from it. I've got a few questions that we like to ask everybody before we wrap up. What's your most memorable moment in football?
My most memorable moment, it was the last game of the season, and we're playing our rivals, Ross County. It's when I played for Inverness, and the coach said to me before the game, if you score in this game, guaranteed a contract for next season, and that was a lot of pressure. So I went out and picked the ball up on the halfway line, took it around about 4 players and lobbed the keeper and scored. And that was great. That was in front of my granddad as well. So my granddad really got me into football, and to score a goal in front of him, he was watching, and that was just the best experience. I completely forgot about my contract at that moment. He was there. I ran over to him. We sort of like high-fived, and that was just the best experience because I scored against our team rivals and got myself a new contract, and then I scored against scored in front of the man that sort of got me into football. Yeah. So that was my best moment.
That's amazing moment. You kind of touched on this one a little bit earlier, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's your biggest regret in football?
My biggest regret was not taking the professional opportunity in Portugal. But in the long run, I had to think about my future financially. And, it wasn't guaranteed that I would be out there for the rest of my life. And it wasn't guaranteed that I might have got given a better contract a year, 2 years down the line. I might have been released. So realistically, I had to think about myself and my future. But again, it was a huge regret because I could have played professional football.
Yeah. And then finally, if you could give one bit of advice to your younger self, what would that be?
It would have been to work slightly harder than what I did work, and to actually just put in the work outside of just training, basically. I touched on it earlier, but people with potential that could go on to be better players that haven't necessarily put in the work. And at a young age, I was one of those players that was expecting things to fall at my lap. And it wasn't until I was about 18 where I realised that I needed to put in the work. And that's when I started to put in the proper work. So it would be just to after those injuries, not to give up. actually work hard and get back to a level that you know you're capable of playing at.
Awesome. Amazing, mate. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your journey. It's been a fantastic one to hear, really, and hopefully it inspires a lot of other younger footballers to persist, work harder, and really chase their dreams as well. So thank you for sharing that.
No, thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Before we go, one thing I nearly forgot. Tell everybody where they can find you if they want to follow your journey. How can they see you? Instagram account or anything like that? You must post some football.
Yeah, so on Instagram, I post a lot of photos. I've got a few videos that I do post, but if you want to follow my Instagram, it's just Craig Rennie _ on Instagram. And I have a football Twitter as well, which is just Rennie ICT on Twitter.
Awesome. Make sure you check him out, everybody, and give him all the support he needs. Awesome, mate. Thank you very much for today.
No worries. Thank you very much.